And we're live. Parker Ray.
Is it not doing the buffer thing?
And
Chill out, chill out.
he's already effed it up. So this is a more kind of niche channel, as you guys know. And we decided to up the quality, right? You were like, I'm sick of you doing it in your bedroom. Here we are. And we're going to talk about the title of today's video, a portfolio designed to cash flow. You ready?
No, sir.
See what I mean?
Unless I have to be.
He's live and like this is what he always
I'm
does.
not live. I'm not live. You didn't give me the intro to start.
We're literally live.
And we're going live on my end now. 3, 2, 1. You're live.
Bro, you're so annoying. I've been live on my channel for so long. So, like I said, in this video, we're going to talk about the market, how to really make more money on your DeFi income. Parker, you gave me this title. What do you mean when you say a portfolio designed to cash flow? What does that mean to you?
A portfolio designed to make money every day, every week, every month from now into the future.
Okay. Meaning if you have more Bitcoin, to get more Bitcoin, if you have more Ethereum, you get more Ethereum, just like what you're teaching, I guess, in the 10K fast track, right?
Exactly.
Okay, let's break it down. You give me some notes. We're going to go over this. Long-term mindset, never gambling, which is like win for sure, as you always say. Investor biz approach. I'm interested in what you mean by there. Systemization and key sites on your goals. Okay, let's break this down for people that are maybe looking to start a DeFi income portfolio. You know, Bitcoin's back at 105K. Ethereum can't make its mind up at 3.6. I mean, the last time I checked Sui, your favorite coin, it was $2.16. I was actually speaking to two guys last night when I was sparring with Ryan, right? And
yeah,
two Australian guys, and one was called Marcus. I've known him for years in Thailand, and his other friend. He thanked me for H-bar when it pumped up to 40 cents, and he sold. He took the bag. He made like 50 grand. But he never thanked me for the Sui suggestion because he bought at 5 and now it's worth $2.16. And I thought about you when he said that. I was like, oh, look, a coin that you always roast, you know, QNT, etc., that hasn't moved, but compared to a coin that, you know, lost him half his portfolio. Parker, what do you think about that?
Got to buy at the right time, my friend. Have a long-term mindset, just like we said. When in doubt, zoom out. Zooming out also gives you a good look at the chart to see when the good entries are. I would say the entries that are best are probably not buying at all-time high at $5, to be honest. So right now at $2, definitely a much better buy.
Yeah.
And seeing the bigger picture.
But the difference is, like we talk about in this channel, super, super niche. It's how to get more coins on your coins, right? So for example, that guy, even buying at $5, maybe if he was in a Sui Walrus pool and you were still in range, like he would have been, you know, at least cash flow positive even on the downturn, right? Again, you're accumulating Sui at $5 to now, if you're in range in a pool, accumulating Sui at $2.16, whatever the price is, right? So if he had done that, it might have been, or it would have saved him some of the bleeding, you know, for example, right? For example, the AVAX black pools that we have going that are getting absolutely wrecked, but the fees have, you know, kind of paid up for that, even with a downturn. And then maybe that goes back up, and then that's where we make our back. So that is what this video is really going to be about, how to stay calm in this market, and obviously how to get more coins in your coins. If you are still a believer of this bull run, are you still a believer of this bull run? I was speaking to two guys yesterday again, and they said 4-year cycle's done, bro.
And that's perfect. I hope more people think that, because the more people think that means the market's going to go the other way. Honestly, I truly believe that. I still think, you know, that 93K level, like Bobby mentioned, is a high possibility. I think 83K is another possibility, even if it's just a wick, like on 1 or 2 days long. If that, I think it's a possibility. And then once we deleverage a lot of the market, we'll continue back to the upside and bull market resumes, at least for a couple months.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're going to run down these 4 bullet points on what to do right now in the market. I see Death's Patience question here. What percentage do you have? Do you mean like what percentage is my portfolio in C, or do you mean what are my ranges? We'll get back to you later on during the stream. And Parker, if there's any interesting questions on your 2-viewer live stream, let us know. But I want to break down the kind of notes that you gave me this morning, okay? And like I said, this is more for educational. This is not about, you know, going crazy with views, etc. You're here because you have a portfolio and you probably want to monetize it. And our goal is to not sell you on anything. It's to look at your portfolio like we always do and say, hey, well, can you get yield in this? Can you get more coins when the market is shit? So you're always, you know, making more coins to eventually maybe sell for a better bull run, right? Long-term mindset,
Yes,
Parker, let's break this down. Long-term mindset. What do you mean when you said by this? And again, this is going to be, why is it not loading? What a good start. Long-term mindset. What does that mean?
Yeah, for me, that means buying things that I think are going to be around multiple cycles or at least just long term, something that I am going to hold and have faith in. And if something changes tomorrow, if price moves down 20% tomorrow, it's not something I'm going to change my thesis on. I'm going to get more excited and want to pick up more of that asset at a discount. Bitcoin, my excitement and passion for Bitcoin is not going to change if Bitcoin's 80K or 105K. It's not going to change my outlook on Bitcoin. Whereas there's some coins that I don't have that same level of faith in. So if the price is moving down, it's so much harder to have a strong mindset in just overall conviction in my portfolio.
Okay. Emotional control, seeing the bigger picture, when in doubt, zoom out. Same thing, basically. You could have just wrote one thing there. It wouldn't actually matter. This all means the same thing. So exactly what he said. What's your time horizon, right? If you're in, I know we're going to tie this back to, DeFi pools, etc. But if you're just an investor right now on pretty much any single coin, bar from, what was the coin that Bobby talked about, the OG coin? I can't remember. It was something, you weren't on the call because you never show up. But it was some top coin, OG coin that just started to run, Zcash, right? I think that is still doing well, last time I checked, right?
It's like over $500-600 right now.
Yeah, OG coins are doing this. I don't know why. I have no idea. But old coins are starting to run, which is absolutely crazy. Again, look at this has been around since 2017. Once a long time ago, this coin was worth $4,000. I don't know if that was true. It's kind of like ICP, where did that really count or did it not? What was the real price of this coin? I don't know if it was $4,000 in 2017. I was pretty much 20 whatever years old, young 20-year-old. So I don't even know. I don't even know. But some of these old coins are starting to run, which is very interesting, right? And again, that is not about the video. It's about seeing the bigger picture, when in doubt, zoom out. So if you are one of the guys that bought Bitcoin at 125, 126, you're probably panicking right now. If you are one of the guys that bought Ethereum at 4, if you are one of the guys that bought Solana at 250, like you said, Sui at $5, you're probably in a little bit of fear right now if it is your first bull run, right? But again, when in doubt, zoom out, exactly what he said there. So, what is your time horizon? Was your goal to make money tomorrow? Is it to be in cryptocurrency for the next decade, 20 years of your life? We can't answer that question for you, but what we can say is ultimately we believe, and you probably believe too, if we were to flip a coin, is Bitcoin going to be worth higher than $105,000 in 10, 20 years time than today? You would probably say yes. So again, it's just about you're parking your money there. It's betting your bank account. It might be down on paper right now, but what's your time horizon? Because yes, it would be all nice to sell in a bull market, buy back in, etc. But the reality is, when most people buy, if it's their first bull run, etc., they end up losing money overnight. That's just reality. But it's not the money you've lost. It's money on paper, right? You still hold the same amount as Bitcoin, Ethereum, you still hold the coins. It's about the coin value. And how we tie this back into DeFi is getting you more coins. So eventually you can stomach the downside. You can get a little bit more confident rather than just being a hodl mindset. And eventually you make more when it maybe is the time to sell, right?
Exactly.
Okay. One word answers again. Anyways, let's move on. Never gambling. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's almost another angle on the same thing. Picking assets that are going to make you money for sure. And I wrote there a couple other things, like a 3x beats losing everything, because people are so like, oh, you're not going to make any money on Ethereum. I bought Ethereum in April, a big chunk of that, and I 3x'd it and then sold it, right? Just like a month ago. And so that's a 3x where if you're trading little shit coins, trying to hit a 10x on this, a 10x on that, a 20x here, the odds are you probably lose everything. The odds are you didn't make any money because you're taking on too much risk. And so that's where I put 99% of people lose, because most of these retail traders that are trading memes or taking out insane amounts of leverage, they get destroyed. Everyone is not winning. Most people are losing. And so just taking those guaranteed bets where you can win for sure will make you more money in the long run without getting lucky.
Those bells are hitting way too hard. If this is on the main channel, the retention will be gone. So exactly what he said, right? We always talk about guarantee returns in our group, right? A lot of guys, they come in our group and maybe they have a smaller portfolio, right? And they're like, well, I can make way more much return on this DeFi portfolio for something that's paying 100% per month and something that's paying 10% per month. But the stuff that's paying 100% per month is usually this stuff on screen right now, Isaac, when a coin has the potential to do well, but after 2 to 3 days, it goes to zero, right? Final Boss coin, for example, a lot of people think this was me. It wasn't me. I wish it was me because this guy made a bag. The reality is when you're chasing high return coins, you are playing with fire. Sure, it can work. We've got some high speculative stuff like Black. We've got high speculative stuff like, what's that one that Kyle has? Zora, etc. Now, those have done well, apart from Black, but Black has paid us enough fees where we're kind of stomach the downside and it's a full range pool. But if you're playing with this stuff and you've got a great portfolio, maybe you have some Bitcoin, AVAX, I don't know, some stablecoins, USDC, Bitcoin, even Ethereum Hashgraph, and you're selling it for this just to try and play catch up, you are potentially losing all the hard work you've done for your job, your income, etc., and you're putting it into this, and then you wake up the next day and it's at zero just to chase 100% APY in a month. Okay, that would be not guaranteed results. That would be 99% lose, and that would tie back into a 3x beats losing everything, right?
Yeah.
Again, one word answers. He'll get there. He'll get there. It's his first time. So yeah, again, if you have a portfolio
There's a bit
right
of a
now,
delay. It's kind of hard to jump in there.
and you did say it last time, my bad. I'll give you more time. And you're looking to monetize, again, it's way much better just playing the longer game, right? How long are you in crypto for? Honestly, like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, like you're in here probably the rest of your life.
Yeah, especially with Bitcoin. Like with something like Bitcoin, that's something that I'm not planning to really ever be done.
Yeah, why would you be done? It doesn't make sense. Like we talked about on the main channel as well. Bitcoin is eventually, most likely, going to be at $1 million one day, right? It's just your time horizon. And all you're really doing is just using Bitcoin as a new savings account where you don't look at it. You get excited when it goes up, for sure. But the goal is not to look at Bitcoin every single day and worrying if your portfolio is down $1,000 or up $1,000 and just having that different mentality when you go into your little 9-to-5 job. That's not the goal. The goal is parking it there and being okay with what the current value is, because again, if you have one Bitcoin, it still is one Bitcoin, right? You know, ultimately, a bear cycle, sideways action, when it's doing nothing, when it's doing great, the one Bitcoin is going to be worth more in a decade from now. Okay, that is what we really teach. Okay, so when you have a portfolio and you're looking at monetizing it, sure, 20%, 10%, take some gambling. Okay, take the 1% chance you maybe make a 10, 20, 30x, whatever, in the next 2 months, whatever, and you get some yield on it so you make even more. But again, if your portfolio is solid, and we've seen this happen, even in our group, everybody gets itchy fingers when they start looking at these pools on VFAT, which we will talk about in a second, and like, well, I've got these blue chips, they're only paying 8% per month, but 8% per month, bro, like that's still fucking crazy.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's something like Bitcoin that you're holding for, like if you've ever held Bitcoin for 4 years plus, you are in profit on Bitcoin if you hold it at least 4 years. And then you take DeFi and you learn to monetize that Bitcoin, and that just accelerates how much profit you will be in 4 years later. Even if you're monetizing your Bitcoin through like a bear market or at the bottom, waiting for something to finally happen, when that 4th year finally hits and you're in profit on your Bitcoin using DeFi in the years past, you will have accelerated and amplified just how much money you will have made.
Yeah. Let me just go back to Death's Patience question because I'll forget. So he's talking about ranges, right? I'm going to give 2 examples, Parker. I'd love for you to chime in because it's more of a question for you, because I know you're a big walrus SUI guy, right? As far as, you know, playing the asset to asset. Because again, I've noticed on SUI, there's not a lot of assets you can really pair it against compared to like the strong ones like VFAT, right? If I want to come in and I can pretty much get everything on Ethereum, which is always going to be guaranteed for me to probably do well. But on SUI, there's not really, as far as I'm aware, not a lot of options bar from stablecoin, which I don't really like, especially when the market goes up and down too much because you're going to be sold to that other asset. What else is there bar Walrus?
Yeah, I mean, you could look at like Cetus would be a good website to use. It's just going to maybe have a little more, some deeper liquidity, but it just depends. I mean, you'll have wrapped Ethereum and some wrapped stuff on there, but a lot of those, like I see what is that, a wrapped Bitcoin to SUI over here on Cetus I'm looking at right now. It's saying about 60%. So there's definitely some options. It's just Turpos, honestly, right now, it's kind of not showing exciting options.
What's your range on Walrus SUI again? Minimum and maximum? Just roughly.
Good ones like 8 to 15.
15, you mean? Yeah.
8 to 15.
Okay, so again, to answer your question here, Death's Patience, I know this is not against USDC. I'll talk about that in 2 seconds. But like, again, if you're asset to asset, like you're getting paid. Again, if you have the Walrus coin, it's a way better thing because I don't want, and you don't want anybody to buy Walrus coin if they have no fucking idea what it is, right? So this is still paying 20% per month. Again, there's a little bit of risk there with Walrus, but this is just goes to show you if you have SUI and you had Walrus, for example, in your little portfolio, this is something where you can get 15, 20% per month quite consistently on a 60, 70% wide range, which we would say would tick the box, right? So again, when SUI is going down, when Walrus is going down, you're accumulating more Walrus and SUI for ultimately if you believe those are going to go up, which you should already have, right? Because you bought them before that. As far as USDC pools, that's where it gets a little bit difficult, right? Because, you know, you're not going to get paid as much. And obviously if the market's bleeding right now, you might have set Like, for example, if you set a range when Sui was at $5 and now Sui's cut in half, you probably didn't have a bottom range of Sui at $2, $2.20, right? Let's just be honest. So there's kind of two options you can do there. Is number one, you can just wait. Again, you're not earning any yield, which kind of sucks. You do have more Sui, which is kind of nice as well if you believed in Sui because you're now fully sold into Sui. But if you were starting a pool right now, whatever that guy's name was, what would you say? We're at 2 to 220 here and we're still getting paid 550, but obviously that's a little bit too tight in my opinion for capturing more upside, more downside potential.
Yeah. I didn't know if you were stopping there or not. I mean, yeah, exactly.
So let's just say we set a range at $1.60, for example, on this chart right now. I just want to see what it's paying. I'm just so curious. And let's just say we put a top range. I mean, that's probably too low, but let's just say we put it at 3. There's potentially a good range, but the problem with this one is, again, as Sui just starts to rip, eventually like it will do. I don't know why that just reset. That was so annoying. Why did that reset? Whatever. Again, the problem with that range is, I don't know why it's not loading. The problem with that range is, again, you're still getting paid like 5-10% per month. But again, if you're setting a wide range or a small range and Sui does decide to go, because Sui's probably going to beat $3 in this bull run, right? You're going to be sold out to USDC probably earlier than what you'd have hodled it to, right? So again, that's the problem with USDC pools. In my opinion, I much prefer asset to asset. In fact, I always prefer asset to asset because if I can come in there and do an Ethereum, Bitcoin, Ethereum, AVAX on VFAT, I would much rather do that and find assets that they correlate. So to answer your question, what ranges you could do something that makes sense. So just come on Turbo Finance right now, Death Finance or whatever your name was. Find a good range, find something that's paying you well. But again, like Parker said, if there's a Sui BTC one, you probably want to do that one more because you'll probably stay in range longer. If there's a Sui Walrus one, it's paying double, if not triple per month. But again, I would only do that one if you have researched Walrus, you want interested in Walrus, because again, you can probably stay in range longer, you can make more, and it's just going to be a better experience if it is your first, second, third pool. If you're just using this for cash flow, sure, tighten this up, but just keep in mind that you probably will be sold to one of the assets. That's something you need to be aware of. But Sui, Turbo Finance, it's still a good platform. We still like it. Volume's still pretty decent, but it's not going to be your VFATs, for example, in my opinion. But if you do have Sui, this is something you can use. Like you said as well, see this, I'm not going to pull it up, but Turbo Finance is like where most people, I would say, go, right?
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Let's move on to the next point. This is the one I didn't understand. You talk about investor biz approach. What does that mean?
Like a business investor mindset first. So it all ties back a lot to the same thing, a long-term mindset, but really treating it like a professional. Stop being that degenerate gambler and run it like your own little business. Create these systems, have a business plan, like that tracker and spreadsheet we have, where you're actually logging everything. You can see the profit and loss of your business. You can see the returns. You can see where you're bleeding money. If you treat it like an actual business, a full-scale operation, you can fine-tune and grow and scale your business and fix any leaks that you may have in the actual portfolio itself. If you're coming at it from a very casual standpoint, you're just not going to go as far without getting lucky. And if you get lucky, you won't even know why. And then you're going to try to repeat it and you're going to lose all your money. So really coming from it with a professional mindset and like, hey, I'm going to operate this portfolio like an actual business, you're just going to go so much farther.
Yeah. Again, we always say, man, is you've probably got a portfolio. So if you're watching this stream right now or in the future when we post this, you probably have some sort of a portfolio, like all the guys that join our 10K fast track, right? They either have a minimum of 10, 20, 30K. Some of the big guys have 50 to 100K. Some of the huge guys like Grant have 500 to a couple of $1 million, right? That's not the most important point. The most important point is looking what assets you have, and chances are you have some blue chips in your portfolio. And all you really need to do, again, free absolute sauce, you do not need to buy anything from us. Just come on VFAT and just start looking at options, which we will do this at the end, right? We always like to do this just to see what stuff's paying, what's paying the best, etc. So Parker, that's going to be something for you, just to maybe work on the background. We're going to be looking at potential pools for blue chips like we always do, ranges, etc. But again, just come on VFAT if you're watching this in the future or even right now and just type in the assets that you have. And chances are, if you have a 50 to 100K portfolio, you can start making that 5 to 10K per month, which is probably going to replace your income, especially it's going to be very good right now if you still believe there's going to be some sort of a bull run, and you can stack coins that you like for a better 25 or early 2026, like some people are saying. So that should be your main goal. It's not about how much you have, it's how much you can, more coins you can make with the percentage, keep in mind, because I don't want to monetize something at 1% per month, but I also don't want to monetize the final boss token 1,000,000% per month and it goes to zero, because again, that's just way too much risk in our opinion. Agree?
Agreed.
Yeah. So again, investor biz approach, from what I can understand, you need a strategy. You need to track your performance. That's why we give all our guys. And you just have a basic spreadsheet, right? It's just a little Google spreadsheet thing. And all you should really do is, the way we give this to our guys is, number one, it keeps them motivated. They know exactly what they're making per month, what they're making per day, and what they're projected to make at the current time of recording. And they should, in my opinion, just look at, well, if I have 100 SUI this month, whatever, and I can get 120, 130 or whatever amount they have and decide to monetize, am I doing better? Even if the price is down, okay? Because that's what people don't understand. Your portfolio might be down, but if you have 100 SUI and you now have 200 SUI, well, eventually, if you believe in SUI, and it's probably going to do well, and it will be at 5, 7, whatever dollars in the future, right? You win. You just have to wait, okay? Because you probably aren't a trader. We're not traders like Bobby, etc. We're playing longer term trades, right? Let's be honest. We decide to cash out eventually somewhat and then funnel it back into stablecoin pools. But we're not looking at the dailies. We're not looking at the hourly candles, okay? Yes, you can look at your portfolio, and like I was making a reel in this morning. Yeah, I was down 20 grand or whatever, but now I'm back up like 50 grand. Like I didn't do anything, right? I wish I did, but I wish I knew how to do that, because I would have made a 70 grand difference and had way more coins, but that's not what we do. And that's probably not what you want to do if you're looking at DeFi as a strategy, right? Because you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is look at your portfolio, come on VFAT, hey, what do I want to monetize? What makes sense for my goals? And just put the assets to work, because it's a lot better than a HODL portfolio if you want to monetize this.
Yeah, I would say too, I really like seeing the specifics of like that spreadsheet, because I can see that, okay, maybe I'm down 40 grand in like value this month or something like that, just random numbers. But I can see that I made 20K in DeFi fees, or let's say just 10K in DeFi fees. So it offsets that 40 grand lost, where I've only lost now 30s and generated an extra 10. And then you buy that dip, like you said, and when price returns back to where it was, you have even more capital than you had initially at that first price. And you do that over the long term, you consistently compound, and you will win for sure.
How's your portfolio right now?
Oh, it's cooked. No, I'm playing. No, it's good. Again, I am very heavy in like top layer ones and stuff like that. So I'm not in like crazy risky stuff that's down super bad outside of like black hole. Actually, I'll tell you what, Arrow's doing a lot better than I thought. Arrow's holding pretty strong. I figured that would be hurting a lot more right now.
How's the fees in that? Still okay?
Yeah, it's still, I mean, it's pretty boring to be honest, but it's been boring for the last year and a half.
Okay. Let's talk about, is that a energy drink?
Little Fresca.
Okay. Definitely gay. Let's talk about systemization. Okay. Setting rules so it takes out all the guesswork and it removes emotion by following the present conditions. What does that mean for guys out there at home?
Yeah, so if you systemize rules for yourself on what you're going to do, where, for example, we're talking about Arrow. I used to have rules to where if Arrow's over $1 in price, every dollar I earn from my Arrow pools goes into USDC. I have to stack it for cash and wait for a good entry on something else. If Arrow is under $1, I would compound that back into the pool. And if it's sub a different price, I can hold just spot Arrow by itself if I wanted to. So you can make crazy rules for yourself to where you don't have to think and wonder. And look at that. Arrow's even it's up over $1 again. It was 90 cents yesterday, and I was impressed. That's funny. But you set these rules for yourself. You set rules to where, okay, if my portfolio, if my DeFi pool of value jumps by, let's say, 10, 20%, like let's say I put 10 grand in there, and the pool itself is now worth 12K, well, take that extra 2K out. Take some profit off the table for if things move back later. So if you set all these rules and what you're going to do with your profits and where they're going to go, you don't have to then rely on your emotions and how you're feeling about the market later on what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And then also just like what prices you're going to take profits at. Like, for example, when Ethereum was at 4,900 recently, I told myself I was going to sell a bunch of ETH at 4K. I didn't sell it all the way up to 4,900, and then I was selling it back around 4K again on the way back down, so I took profit at my level, but it was so hard to sell it over where I even initially said I was going to sell it. It was so hard to sell it at 4,800, 4,900. I didn't sell any at that price. I waited till we're back down to 4K again. So if you have those rules, they help you to follow them and do the right things the first time, so you don't wish you did later.
And you've got an interesting story with Arrow, right? You always tell the guys in this, because you've been in this coin for how long? Is it 1.5 years now?
Like what, March, 2 Marches ago?
And you've read this up, down, now back up, right? So you've had these sort of like 3 mini pumps and these 3 mini dumps, right? So what's the difference between somebody buying Arrow, what was your initial entry price? And it doesn't matter if it's higher than $1.11. That's not the question. Save your ego. What was your initial entry price on Aero? Do you remember?
Is probably $1.25, to be honest, somewhere around there.
So here's the difference, right? And you've held Aero for how long?
Like a year and a half.
Year and a half. So if you were Parker, right, and you come into Aerodrome Finance thinking this coin is going to be one of the next best hits, and it still could be, by the way, but if you bought at $1.25, he is technically down after 1.5 years. Sucks, right? But what's the difference between you buying at $1.25, even though you're pretty much break even just in that example, but what have you decided to do and have done for that 1.5 years that has been a net positive to how you're actually in profit compared to, because a lot of people can't understand that, right? You bought at 125, it's now 111. So how have you made any money? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I've cash flowed so much off this position, both at higher prices and at lower prices. And I've not even, all those fees I've earned, I've taken them and put them elsewhere as well. And so I think actually I rotated in March of 2024 is what it was. I rotated around that time and price looks like it was, about that $1.25 level. I rotated my quant that never did anything over to that Aero USDC, like 10K worth. And that initial Aero, like the value of the Aero itself from the compounding and the positions I opened there, that Aero itself is it's always floating between about 20K right now, but also I cash flowed off that for 2 years and I still have other profits that were originated from that position. So even though the pricing, like we said, is down like 20%, I have, number one, doubled my exposure to Aero in what I still hold in terms of dollar value, but then I also use that cash flow to open other positions because it was paying like 200%, 160% for the longest time.
Yeah. And that goes back to, so to sum that all up for somebody that doesn't understand what he's talking about, he has more Aero, okay? So he has more Aero cash flow, even in other positions that he might have started, etc., with those pills compared to a HODL. And again, there's nothing wrong with if you bought Aero at $1.25. You've just had to wait 1.5 years, whatever you said, and if you're a HODL mindset, etc., you probably didn't sell at $2.01, right? Because you're a hodler, right? You know, initial pump was coming, you probably thought $5, $6, $10 was on the card. It goes all the way back down. You panic. Let's just say you're a hodl, you're decent in whatever, etc. But the difference is he's monetized that with pools, etc., where he has more Aero. He's been able to start other pools for free just by using his Aerodrome Finance. So when somebody always says, like, how are you up when you bought a 125? Well, again, he's using DeFi pills to scale this in. And that goes to the same with Sui. It goes for the same Solana. It goes for the same whatever thing. If you have pills in range, if you can find full range pills, even better. You're monetizing, you get to use that to accumulate more coins you believe in to then funnel elsewhere. Again, we always say you would not buy a real estate property and not put a tenant in there, right? It wouldn't make sense. If you have a real estate property, you probably want the appreciation, which probably isn't going to go much up or down. You don't really care, right? The problem with real estate is you can't just say, hey, what is the price of this house? You have to get a fucking inspector in there, and maybe they give you a price, then you have to find somebody that buys it. You're going to get lowballed. You need to do the carpets, etc. But the difference is you would put a tenant in there, and if you have a 100K house, I don't know how much that would pay you, maybe $1,000 a month. I don't know. The difference is you would probably put a tenant in there. So again, if you have coins that you can monetize, we're not telling you to monetize. In fact, we're not telling you to do anything, but if you have coins, you would start monetizing maybe 5%, maybe 10%, get your feet wet, right? Because that is something you can do with crypto that a lot of people don't realize you can do. And again, if you have one Aero and you have two Aero, guess what? You're doing better, right? Because you did this for free. So that's the whole goal. If you can get more coins that you believe in, that goes back to the first question of not fucking selling everything to go to a shit coin that you don't believe in just to get more coins of that shit coin. And then, you know, the final boss token, for example, it goes to zero. And it doesn't matter how many final boss tokens you have because it's at zero, right? That's the difference. And we always talk about blue chips, blue chips, blue chips. Get that 6 to 12% per month, which, by the way, is pretty fucking crazy if you look at most investors. And especially if that coin goes up, you get the caveat of nice yield and coin appreciation like we expect in cryptocurrency. So keep that in mind. Did we talk about systemization? I can't remember if you went over that or I was just writing it down. Setting rules to take out all the guesswork, remove emotions by following present conditions. Did you mention that?
I don't think so too much. Let me pull that back up on my end here. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit, just like setting rules when you're going to sell, how you're going to purpose your profits, where they're going to go. Like you're taking your air rewards, you're putting them into what? Are you taking them into cash? Or you put them into Bitcoin? Find a purpose and a way to get risk-free ASAP. So yeah, we talked about that.
Okay. And again, just for the guys that want a more visual thing, we always say, example and pool. Let's say you have a Bitcoin pool, okay? And here you have a AVAX pool, right? That looks very weird. You have an initial portfolio that you like. You have Bitcoin AVAX, for example. We always tell our guys you have three options. Option number one is, guess what? You stack more Bitcoin and you stack more AVAX, right? Why does it look like I've just drawn two balls there? Imagine. Isaac. Imagine this on the main channel. They'd be like,
stop.
Okay. Caffeine setting too hard. Basically, and that'll be a reel right there, bro. That's a viral reel, guaranteed. You have Bitcoin, you have AVAX. The goal is to get more Bitcoin AVAX, right? You believe in them for a reason. Isaac, stop laughing, bro. I can see you, bro. I said to my girlfriend, yesterday, if I can make Parker laugh, which always happens, right? I think we clipped that you laughed like 20, 30 times. You're going to see a massive reel. Remember in Vegas, you were like, is that Jake Gordon?
I got to do the Jake Gordon reel. Yeah.
Yeah, you never gave me that. But the amount of times I make you laugh in the stream, I'm winning. If I can make Isaac laugh, I'm really winning. And he was just laughing there. I caught you there. So if I can do that, I've won the stream. But basically, to sum this up before my editor starts having a heart attack and just says, get to the fucking point, because he hates when I ramble and we don't actually talk about real stuff. Basically, if you can do this, your goal is to get more Bitcoin AVAX, right? You have a Bitcoin AVAX pool. Let me get rid of that. It's distracting. If you have $1,000 in Bitcoin AVAX and it pays you 10% per month, you now have, give or take, 1.1K.
Dude,
what?
Oh, I think my stream's behind. My bad.
Yeah, you're lagging. You're lagging. Just catch back up. You're now at 1.1K, but the 1.1K is not, or whatever, right? You're 1K, you make 10%, 1.1K. That's not really the thing. You want to think about how much more Bitcoin, how much more AVAX I have, right? Because again, if you have the 10-year, the 20-year, the 30-year mindset, I don't know if AVAX is going to be around that long, but let's just say it was, you're winning. Because if you can do after that 1 month, what can you do after 10 months? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, okay? So that's option number one. Option number two is kind of what you said, or kind of what I did. Let's just say I had a Brett, an Ethereum pool. I think I have it on another laptop, but basically that Brett and Ethereum pool paid me $48,000 and give or take 1 year. It's out of range right now. I'm sitting on a ton of Brett, but if Brett does well, that's fine. The caveat is I've made that $48,000. What I did was I scaled this to other pools. For example, the Black AVAX pool, which you told me to buy, it's now fine. But before, if I bought that now, I'd be like, Parker, you are such a rugger, bro. What did you do, right? The difference is it's a full range pool. I made a fuck ton of Black. I made a fuck ton of AVAX. I sold the Black, which some people don't like to hear about, but I'll just be honest with you. But I used that to keep my risk to pretty much zero. Now I have a risk-free pool. The other example was I copied Kyle. What's his second name? Like, I got him again, bro. I got him again. He's such an easy crack, bro. And you never make me laugh. It's funny that, isn't it? The Zora / Ethereum pool, okay, again, 48K in free feels, 6K here, 6K here, plus the extra 42K that I can monetize elsewhere. So this is option number one, this is option number two. Option number three for you guys is what a lot of guys want to do, but again, I wouldn't recommend you do it, which is basically just sell for cash, right? You got a mortgage, you got a wife that wants a holiday, she wants a new handbag. Don't do that. It's not worth it, in my opinion. Take the more risky on approach, and then you can buy the better holiday. You can quit the job maybe one day, because if you believe in these assets for down the line, and if you're selling them for today, it's almost like you're wrecking future price potential in these potential coins, okay, if you believe in that. But once you get to a big enough portfolio, like your guy called Grant, where he's making 2K per day and he has over $1 million in pools, right? So it's all relative. He can, for example, maybe 15 days out the month, stack more Bitcoin and AVAX in this example, and then the other 15 days replace his full income, travel the world, etc. But he has $1 million portfolio in DeFi, right? It's all relative. So that's what you could do. I would recommend you don't do this and just have more skin in the game. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So that's your really three options. In fact, I know you can talk about lending, etc., and doing all this crazy stuff. But again, to keep this beginner level, you do number one, you stack the initial stuff that you have. Do number two, you start new pools. There's no right or wrong answer, and there's no right or wrong answer. We're taking cash. If you want to take the cash and you're like, fuck you, Jake, if I can get a Bitcoin AVAX pool and I have 30K, for example, and it pays me 3K per month and I can quit my job, you can do that. That's absolutely fine. If you want to do that, absolutely do that. But again, I would always say maybe have the 15 days mentality, so you're at least stacking more coins, because I promise you it's going to do you so much by just delaying gratification. I promise you that. So that would be your three options. That's what we always tell our guys on somebody that buys our program and our onboarding call, etc. That's your three options. Choose one. There's no right or wrong answer. And you can jump ship anytime you want. If the Bitcoin AVAX pool is you don't believe in anymore for whatever reason, we're not staking. We're not locked up for 6 months. You can leave in a click of a button and go somewhere else. Doesn't actually matter. If you don't believe in cryptocurrency anymore and you're done with this and you want to invest in the stock market, you can leave. The difference is with staking, etc., some of these platforms you're locked up for 6 months. So the price might look great short term, but 6 months time, what's the price going to be? I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like to be able to have full control of my assets. And again, that goes back to real estate. Your house might be doing well, etc., but how long does it take to get that lawyer in, sign the papers, find a tenant, have people come out, do the home report, and then for some, I don't know, Chinese guy to underbid you, because that's what happened to my property, right? I had one little property in flat in Hamilton. Didn't like the game anymore, wanted to leave the game. What happened was some Japanese guy just underbid me, and I was like so desperate. I was like, fine, just take it. And I didn't make any money on that real estate property. And the tenant was absolute trash. So, we've had a lot of guys, Parker, you can probably resonate, like Joe, etc., in our group, come out of real estate and use DeFi as a real estate venture for their portfolios, right?
Yeah. A lot of guys have left that and they found freedom through DeFi, just not having to deal with tenants and all the bull crap that comes with it. And they've advised me, because I'm young and curious about getting into real estate with some side money, take some profits where I put them. And they're like, nah, don't do it. They all left it to come to crypto. They're saying, don't do it.
First of all, you're not that young, bro. Calm down.
Bro.
How old are you?
Not an old head like you, man.
How old are you, bro?
26.
I mean, we're basically the same age, bro.
Yeah, I mean, basically not.
What's your portfolio worth?
Chill, brother, chill.
Okay, the last thing, I'm too lazy to write it because you wrote too much stuff, but I'm just going to talk about the main heading, and then we're going to go to VFAT, and then we're going to do 2 questions that I did do a post on, and then we're going to answer any live. Have you got any live chats that's interesting or no on your side?
We had a couple.
Not yet, though. Not yet. Just keep them there. Okay. Just keep them there. But if anybody has any questions on looking at pools, etc., and we will do that for the last 10 minutes. We always promise to do that. Okay, so we will get to you guys. Okay, Parker, your last thing here is keep in sight on goals. This reinforces your reasoning for everything above. Follow your system so you can achieve your goals. Have a reason to actually take profits. What does that mean?
Yeah, so maybe it sounds a little corny or whatever, but if you make, let's say even like this dream board, right, where you have like everything that you're wanting, you might have like the wedding ring over there or the car that you want, a picture of the house. You make this board of all your reasons for what you're going to do with that money, how it's going to change your life, how it can actually do something for you. That's going to help push you to take profits at the times that you have previously agreed and written down in your plan, in your system, right? Because without that, even with that, it's hard. Like I said, when Ethereum was 4,900 and I was supposed to sell a bunch at 4K, I was still holding a fuck ton of that Ethereum and I wasn't selling it because it is so hard. So you need to have those things in front of you that you see every day so you know that you have that extra push to take the profit. Take the profit to actually get the car. Take the profit to get the watch. Take the profit to buy the ring. Do whatever, the vacation, whatever it might be. Go to Thailand for a month with the boys, right? It's like actually have those reasons and then follow your system so you can actually then have those in your reality.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Set realistic goals. We always have guys, and again, they have a 10K portfolio and they want to make 10K in the first month with DeFi. And we really just have to drain it in their mind that it's possible, but again, you're going to be riding stuff like this. And you have probably 2 to 3 days. I think TJ, one of our community guys, good to see you here, TJ, on this very small channel. He's like, what's up, boys? So don't swap the entire bag to sub 1 million market cap memes. Like, believe it or not, TJ, that is what people do because they look at their 10K portfolio and they're like, I'm only going to make a 1K per month on a 10% pool, for example, which, by the way, is fucking amazing. Just keep that in mind if you actually do the maths and you play this for the long game. They'll look at these sub 1 million market cap memes on AI coins and gaming coins, whatever, and they're like, well, I can make 10K per month, okay? But the problem is, if that coin doesn't survive, your initial 10K is now at zero. So now you have nothing to monetize. So that's just something you need to keep in mind on. Play the risky meme caps like TJ said there. Once you get the 50K portfolio, the 30K portfolio, the 100K portfolio, because you can lose in them and nothing actually happens because every single month you're going to be paid for those losses, okay? The perfect example is I remember we had a guy called Jesse. He was making over 1K per day on Sui. He had about 80 to 120K. I can't remember the exact number just on Sui. And he was taking bets all day. Like basically what he was doing was, remember he did the Thora fucking coin. I can't remember the thing. I think
like 1K to 40K on that thing, dude.
Yeah, bro. Like, what's his name? Jesse. Yeah. if you can show this, yeah, you can. So basically, he was doing a 1K pretty much day on Sui pools back in the day. I think Sui was at 70 cents, and he was running this up. He took all his profits, and he bought this coin again. I don't know what the fuck it was, but he bought this coin with his. It was a free bet,
Up 40K,
and it went up 40K in one day. And here's his portfolio on this little coin. Like, there you go, 45K, up 43K. So he put in 1.5K, whatever. And even if this went to zero, it wouldn't have mattered because he just wakes up next day and he's made 1K in Sui, right? So do that at this level. Don't do this at level 1, because imagine if you bought not Asteria and you bought a coin with that 1K portfolio that you've worked so hard for in the real world, and now it's at zero, okay? Because this is just luck, in my opinion. Yes, you can look at the team, you can look at research, you can look at the influencers, etc., but nobody knows it's going to have a good launch. This is a much better way to do it, because then you can be like, okay, I'll just wake up the next day tomorrow and I've got a big enough portfolio. So again, make your main bags pay first and then sort out the rest later if you want, because we like risky bets, right? We're not opposed to that, but again, you obviously
what would you have sold that at? You wouldn't have held that to 45. What would you have sold that at?
I wouldn't have even fucking bought it, bro. The fuck you? I bought your black coin. It's going sideways and downwards, right?
Oh my god.
Anyways, so again, just to sum up his point there, follow your system so you can achieve your goals. If you just stick with the 6 to 12% mindset on your portfolio, and you have the initial portfolio of 100K, for example, and you're making 8 to 12K per month, stick to that, and there should be no reason where you need to jump ship anytime soon. The only reason where you swap is, you know, if you have Ethereum XRP, for example, and you don't like Ethereum XRP for whatever reason, that is when you would start to jump ship a little bit. But again, if you're in blue chips, you hold them for a reason. So this is why this product that we have in our group is so easy to fucking sell, because it's like, we literally just look at your portfolio, we come on VFAT as the initial thing and say, what do you have? What can we monetize? And it's a win-win immediately. We don't have to really say, well, if Bitcoin's going at this price tomorrow, you know, short it with 10x leverage. We don't have to do that at all. We can make you guys win for sure. And that's the beautiful thing about this. So have a reason to actually take profits as well. All right, let's talk about, we've got 13 minutes left. I have 2 questions for you, Parker, that I wanted to ask you.
Chat's saying black hole was a good bet at the time.
Yeah. What are the things, okay, what are things that are not known and you learn about entering positions in DeFi?
Wait, say that one more time. I'm sorry.
What are things that are not known?
comment.
What are, it's on the community post. This is private. What are things that are not known that you've learned a lot after entering in DeFi? I can tell you my first thing. It's a kind of weird first question, because what are things that are not known? Like, you don't know what you don't know, right? When you pull up to Coinbase and you're just trying to buy your first Bitcoin, you're like, well, how do I get my GBP or USD on Bitcoin? Like, what credit card do I have to use? How much fees do they take? So that's what I think you mean there. But I'll tell you one thing. If you're playing the fee game, fees change all the time. So if you're looking at a pool here, just for example on screen, wrapped Ethereum and USDC, and you see it's paying, ignore the width, etc., but you see it's paying 308%, you might think, okay, that's a guaranteed 300% for the rest of my fucking life. But that is what people don't understand, right? This changes all the time. The reason these fees are here because they're not fake, right? People are buying and selling all the time. So if it's a heavy day and the market's going up or down and people are swapping and panicking, you will get paid more. If it's the weekend and it's boring, etc., you might see this APR come down to 100%. So my biggest thing to answer that question before I chuck this to you, Parker, is don't bank on APRs being the same every single day at the same thing every single time. It's going to be up and down. And we always say, look at the average. Because if you can do the average, you're going to be happy regardless of what.
You cut out?
No, you just take so long. And what platforms do you use for swapping and bridging? You mentioned a bunch in our community. What are your best platforms? The easiest to recommend?
Swapping is going to depend on the chain that you're on. If you're looking to bridge, I've been using dBridge a lot lately. I used to use Portal Bridge. That was my old favorite. dBridge I've been using a lot. Just a couple more blockchains on there. Pretty fast and efficient. As far as exchanges, if it's stuff like just USDC, you could send that to like Coinbase on one network and send it right back off on a different network. So you have to find what works the best for you. Different regions, having a VPN makes things easier as well. Me personally, once I get money on chain, I don't like to get it back on the exchange unless I need to. So my preferred method is to use like Portal or dBridge to make those cross chain jumps. And then for swapping on chain, it just depends on the network you're on. You know, Uniswap if you're on an EVM network, Jupiter if you're on Solana, you can use Turbo, Cetus on Sui. It's such a loaded question because it just depends on what you're trying to move to where.
Yeah. Okay.
Unfortunately.
Last question here before we go to your questions that you mentioned on your live chat. What are the DeFi pair options for HBAR? There's kind of two questions here. So there's one option that we found that is so new that I can't touch right now because the TVL is only $8,000. I think we said to one guy that we had maybe 2 or 3 calls back for our onboarding to test this. I don't know if he tested it. Do you know if he pulled up and tested it? I forget his name.
I've not heard yet.
Not heard yet. So here's the interesting thing, and I think this is very good, right? When we used to do our onboarding calls, when people used to buy our community, etc., a lot of guys used to come in with XRP, right? And the problem with XRP was back then there was literally no pools that made sense, right? Now there is starting to be some sort of pools like XRP Ethereum here. There's, UXRP Ethereum, just a wrapped version. There's even some lower ones that are not paying the best, but XRP, BTC, etc. So there's now more options for XRP, and we're starting to see the same thing. Now again, you can go and stake your HBAR and hashback. And from what I remember in 21 and 22, it used to pay you about 60% per year, and that was fucking amazing. But now it's paying like 2 to 4% per year. So it doesn't even hit our monthly goals of like the 6 to 12% per month. So for me, it doesn't make sense, in my opinion, to do that. But there is one option right now, and this is maybe a month old right now. I can't even remember. It's wrapped Ethereum and UHBAR, which again is just a wrapped version. The only issue with this is it's so new, and the TVL is nothing. So again, if the weekly reward, if you want to say, okay, well, Jake, I want to make $1,000 a week on HBAR, well, it's just simply not going to happen because the weekly rewards is $164, right? The APR is good, but you just need more TVL. You need more people swapping and interacting with HBAR and this Ethereum pool for it to make sense. But the good news is, I'm not going to predict anything, but I do think, just like the XRP pools, that potentially HBAR is going to be way more monetizable for you guys that have HBAR like me that want to get more HBAR, because HBAR has just been a hodl position. It's been up, it's been down, it's been great, but you've not really had a way where you can use DeFi for it, right? Do you see potential in this, like XRP one day?
Yeah, one day, getting a little bigger, but just right now, like you said, I mean, it's just not exciting right now. Not a lot of options in terms of wrap potential, but that potential is there to grow. So it just depends on how demand changes for the asset.
Yeah, so Zori Pilot, there's one option, and again, test it. Put $100 of Ethereum and $100 worth of wrapped HBAR, and you will make rewards. I can guarantee you'll make more Ethereum and more Hedera hash graph, and I think it's even pairing an arrow here, than what you had on day one. But is it going to get you to that 10K per month? Well, no, the numbers just don't make sense, right? You cannot enter this pool with $1 million HBAR position and Ethereum position because you're going to break the pool. Other question for you, Parker. What is your opinion on the Bonzo lending platform on Hedera?
Oh, I have not used that. Whoa. What is it? What is it called?
Bonzo. Bonzo. I don't know if it's a coin as well. Let me just check. Because he put the dollar thing above the...
Bonzo Finance.
Is it Bonzo Finance?
Yeah, I think I've actually looked at this one other time before, but I don't actually use it. The problem with the HBAR stuff is that the ecosystem is not as big, so I haven't played around on it much.
Okay.
Let me see.
So what I can see on screen right now is I have this similar web thing, which is what I used to use for ecom, for like running a lot of stores. And I use this for like checking, like when somebody says, okay, what do you think of this coin, or what do you think of this pre-sale, right? It could do super well. There's millions and millions of people interested in this, and I just pull up their main website and I pull up this similar web. It's kind of like a little cheat code. You can get it as well for free, and I would recommend you guys to get this. Is you can kind of see where the money's going. So if I pull up a pre-sale page and like everybody's getting excited about this coin going to do super, super well, but I see 0 visitors on it, I'm like, okay, well, that's just not going to happen because nobody has visited this page. So when I pull up Bonzo Finance, again, it's not millions and millions of people like Uniswap, etc. You can see roughly in October, which was last month, you always see last month data, it has grown a little bit, but there's 7,000 people on here in the whole world. Not to say that it's not a lot of people, but again, if you compare 7,000 people to, Uniswap that has millions of people, I can almost guarantee that if I pull this up on Uniswap, I don't want to say it's risky. That's not the word I'm looking for. It's just something that there's not a lot of people using this, which could be good or bad. You just have to keep that in mind.
Yeah,
Again,
just start small on it. I mean, make a different hashpack wallet, and if you want to connect with that, do it. Don't connect with your mother load starting out. But if you were looking to lend H bar or borrow against it to use that in DeFi and bridge that USDC you borrow somewhere else, this would be a good place to do that. So you could stick 20 grand of H bar in there and borrow some USDC against it and use that for pools somewhere else on a different blockchain. So definitely, it's something that's a very powerful tool you could use. It's just as far as Bonzo specifically, because I'm not a big H bar guy. I don't own it anymore. It's like I've not looked or played around with this specifically.
yeah. So play around with it. Don't connect your main whatever wallet you're connecting to. Have a test wallet and play around with it. If you like it, sure, go a little bit heavier. We're not saying Bonzo is a bad platform, right? I'm just saying with 6,000 people in the whole world on Bonzo, take that for good or for bad. It would just be risky if you have a 100K portfolio and you need to make this happen. You connect to the Bonzo and Bonzo disappears. That would suck. And we don't know if that's going to happen, but I can be 100% guaranteed that if I connect $1 million portfolio to Uniswap that's been around for many bull cycles and many bear markets, that that's going to be absolutely fine connected to that. Because we've seen what happens with some of these platforms, and this is why we always say you have your blue chip assets and you also have your blue chip DeFi platforms, like your VFATs, like your Uniswaps, like your Oricas, like your Turbo Finances, etc. If you want to scale down to try and find other positions, you can do so, but it shouldn't be with the main portfolio DeFi bag that you're really trying to monetize hard, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, Parker, 4 minutes left. What were the questions you had that you really wanted to kind of ask?
Ooh, let's see what I got. Ooh, comments are saying it works. They've used it, and yes, it is. It has a higher payback on USDC than other protocols. I think he means in terms of the interest rate for Bonzo there, which it's at 8%. So it's a bit of a pricey loan to pull out. Let me pull that back up real quick on my screen. Just wanted to see it one more time. Or I guess technically your screen is the one that's streaming. So JK. Which unfortunately you can't even catch the flip side of that where you supply USDC for 8%. The supply is still 2%. So interesting right there. When to compound your pools and when to de-risk by parking those fees into safer assets and or diversifying. So I would say it depends a little bit on what the asset is, but if it's something like a Bitcoin or ETH pool, it's cash flowing you. You're only really de-risk at that point is to throw it like into USDC. So depending on whether or not you'd be looking to DCA into more of that asset or be looking to just skim a little profit for later, would change that decision. If it's something like Black Hole, USDC or USDT, something like that, I've been just like Jake selling all the black I've earned every single day, or not every day, but every time I go to claim, I then sell those fees immediately back to Avalanche or whatever. Because a risky position like that I don't believe in, like let's say multi-cycle, I'm looking to get risk-free on it ASAP. So I'm de-risking every time I claim. Whereas something like Bitcoin to AVAX or Sui to Walrus, those are things that I'm going to make those decisions as I meet certain price targets. So if my position's up like 10 or 20%, I'll take a little profit out. Some stuff is USDC. On stuff like my Arrow that I've had for a year and a half open in that full range pool, I've already systemized to where depending on whether or not I compound depends on the price. If Arrow is under $1, I compounded it. If Arrow was over $1, I took it as cash, right? And I've been running that system for like a year now, where I just use that to organize exactly where my funds are going to go. And it just makes it easy. It takes all the pressure off my head, and I just look at my spreadsheet and see what it tells me to do, and I just do what the system tells me to do. So I don't have to think about it. It's basically automated. I just click the buttons. A couple other things, Jake. This one you can kind of answer too. People are saying is it not better for people? Wait, hang on. This is like terrible English. It's better to protect.
You got 1 minute and a half. Make it quick, bro. We're strict.
Is it better to protect your capital for the bear market right now? It's bad for new people to get into DeFi right now. Essentially, is like what?
Is it?
It's super late for new people to be trying DeFi pools. There you go.
Well, everybody always says it's super late. I fucking hate that question. How many questions do we get that even on the main channel, right? It's too late to buy. It's too late to buy this. It's too late to buy this. I mean, it's always going to be too late to buy unless you bought Bitcoin at 0.0001 pence. It's always going to be too late to buy. And here's the thing about buying Bitcoin at $1, sub $1. These guys sold it at $2. These guys lost it in their fucking hardware wallets or their little exchange back there anyway. So none of that fucking mattered. So again, we always say this. We have 1 minute left, and this is a rant, and this is a great reel. Abu, clip this. We always say for the guys that bought in 2013, right? I made you laugh again. I'm always winning. Isaac's probably laughing. If you bought at 2013 at the peak, right? Or whatever price was, what was 2013's Bitcoin's peak? Like 1K or whatever. It doesn't really matter, right? It was less than what it was today. Probably 100x less if it was actually 1K. You can't even see it on this chart, right? It's a little freckle on your cheek. It was $1,000, right? If you looked at this Back in 2013, you were like, it's too fucking late to buy. And guess what happened? You went in the bear cycle. If you bought in 2017, okay, at that magical 20K, right? We heard about it, but we weren't interested. You know, we were probably too young. We weren't making enough money to buy any Bitcoin back then. Guess what? It was too late to buy, right? But guess what? In 2021, if you bought it the absolute worst time at 64K or the double top at 69K, guess what? It was always too late to buy, wasn't it? Well, guess what? It's now at 105K. And eventually, if you're buying Bitcoin at 105K, the next cycle is going to be 200, 400. It's always too late to buy. But you get into the price you deserve. It's always going to be too late. So what's the even point in saying this, right? You're never going to be one of the guys that buys, or if you bought enough too early, you would have sold it anyway, so it never would have mattered. The best time to buy is today, or yesterday. The second best time is to buy today. So again, people that always ask that, and it's the same with DeFi. You know, if you can make more coins than what you have, if you can make more dollar than what you have, okay, you're doing better than tomorrow, the next day, because you're always going to wait. People always wait, and it's the same with starting. You know, you were the same on YouTube. Oh, Jake, it's too late to start a YouTube channel. Now, guess what? You're playing catch up. If you started 2 to 3 years ago, maybe you would be the main man in this channel, but you're playing catch up, right? All the guys that used to say on dropshipping, etc., dropshipping, it's too late to buy, like, etc. It was always the same thing. Anybody that says that, and it's the same with AI. Oh, it's too late to start AI. We know a lot of guys here that do OFM, OnlyFans management, right? It's always too late to buy. It's always going to be too late to buy, right? Or it's always going to be too late to do something. Okay, but what else are you going to do? Sit and do nothing? Work at your job? I don't know. That's all I got, Parker. Sign this off. Goodbye. Thank you, Isaac. Peace and take care.
GG.
All love.
See you, boys.
GG. What a good stream, guys.